Careers in Philosophy, a presentation by Zachary Perlman, a philosophy student at American Public University, August 15th, 2017. What is philosophy exactly? Here's a few quotes to get us started. These quotes and many more can be found in a book called First Principles of Philosophy. The one I like most here is probably Voltaire. Philosophy is the discovery of what is true and the practice of what is good. I also like what Cicero says. Philosophy, rightly defined, is the love of wisdom. And that is in fact what I hear quoted probably most often, is that philosophy is the love of wisdom. Here are some big names in philosophy, some historically important people you might have heard of. Plato, Socrates, Buddha, Pythagoras, Confucius, St. Augustine. These are just a handful of names. There have been dozens and dozens more. But wait, haven't we all heard about how philosophy degrees are a waste of time? That studying philosophy gets you absolutely nowhere in life? You can't get paid to be a philosopher, and there are no jobs in this field. I've heard these kinds of comments and criticisms many times, but they are not entirely accurate. Let's take a deeper look at philosophy, and you'll see why philosophy is important and still very much relevant, leading to all kinds of interesting careers. According to the Huffington Post, everything on Wikipedia goes back to philosophy in just a few clicks. Let's take a random example of something like waterproofing. If you click the first non-italicized term of nearly any Wikipedia entry, eventually you end up at their philosophy page. True to form, Wikipedia already has an entry called Getting to Philosophy, which describes this phenomena. According to Wikipedia, the effect is true for 94% of all entries, and this was first discovered in 2008. For those of you who respect doctorate degrees, think about this for a moment. What do the letters PhD stand for? That's right, Doctor of Philosophy. Though admittedly most people don't get a doctorate degree in the field of philosophy itself, their chosen field of study is probably based on philosophy. For example, scientists like chemists and physicists study philosophy of science. Experts in linguistics must study the philosophy of language. Psychologists study philosophy of psychology. Lawyers study philosophy of law, and even mathematicians study philosophy of mathematics. So, as you can now see, philosophy is at the foundation of almost all other subjects. So, what do philosophers work on then? Everything? Well, philosophers like getting to the truth of a matter. They like calculating the true value of something and using reason to sort out confusing problems. Philosophers help us think through all kinds of challenges in other fields like ecology, physics, space exploration, healthcare, business development, all kinds of things, community organizing, ethics. Ethics is actually a pretty big one. But just for fun, let's look at some of the common popular philosophical questions, like what is real? What is reality made out of? How can we really know something for sure? What is human nature? What is the mind? What is ethical? What's the best form of government? Do people have rights? Are they unalienable rights? Or more like benefits? How about the self? Is there some kind of soul or enduring self? Is time an illusion? Does God even exist? Do you have free will, or are your choices determined? Is truth open to interpretation or not? How about nature? Does everything follow a pattern in nature? How should we act if we want to live a good life? The required education for becoming a professional philosopher is typically either a PhD or a master's degree in philosophy. It's possible to become a philosopher without having earned a university degree, but in the West and in the modern era, it would be almost unheard of. An excellent example of an exception to this rule would be Manly P. Hall, founder of the Philosophical Research Society and the author of many wonderful books, including First Principles of Philosophy, 12 World Teachers, and The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Exactly how Mr. Hall managed to become so smart, get so much information at such a young age and without formal schooling, remains somewhat of a mystery. But history is occasionally marked with examples of unschooled geniuses, and Hall seems to be one of them. The lifestyle of philosophers varies greatly. Historically, many had the lifestyle of a monk, a wandering sage, even a traveling salesman or a homeless beggar, but the more successful or more socially adaptable and acceptable philosophers become famous authors or esteemed college professors, corporate consultants, members of think tanks, or even government advisors. And the corresponding lifestyle for those are, of course, much more affluent. The most common way to pursue being a professional philosopher is to become a philosophy teacher at a college or university. But take a look at this recent article from Forbes magazine called Revenge of the Philosophy Majors. It explains that most of the companies in Silicon Valley are known for their cutting-edge technology, and so you might think they only hire people with good computer science skills. But you'd be wrong. Apparently, there is still high demand for people with degrees in things like literature and philosophy. Here's a video clip to elaborate further.
Hello, I'm Dr. Annadale, and I teach philosophy at Mount St. Mary's University and Seminary in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And I want to offer a few comments today about a recent article in Forbes magazine in the August 17th, 2015 issue, an article called Revenge of the Philosophy Majors. This is the magazine cover, the new golden ticket, you don't have to code to get rich, how liberal arts grads are conquering Silicon Valley. And the first page of the article, which is about 7 magazine pages long, Revenge of the Philosophy Majors. So, this is a good article. It's well worth reading. I'd encourage you to seek it out. I'll put a link in the description to the online version if it's still available. The main points I see in this article, one, tech companies need creativity, not just technical chops in their employees. And the article observes that Silicon Valley hiring patterns are reflecting this recognition. There are stories relayed in the article about tech executives, including the fellow on the cover, who use the writing and critical thinking skills that they've developed through philosophy to help manage meetings and run management decisions. There are a number of descriptions from different fields in designing apps for hospitals and in bringing technology into restaurants, for example, where work teams at tech companies include many non-techies. And in fact, these people, often liberal arts graduates, are key to the success of the company and the company's business plan. These are people who work in design, product design, and interface design, people who run sales and customer relations, and people who generally bring the human touch, who help not just to design the technology, but to help interface the technology with the world in which it's being used by people who themselves are not techies. A few key data points from the article that I'll highlight. There's an observation that according to one study, in Silicon Valley right now, non-tech hires are equaling or exceeding hires in computer science and engineering. That is to say, STEM is not the only route to success and even to successful and profitable employment in the technology industry. Second data point, one executive observes that it takes 10 meetings to put together a deal to bring a mobile app, design and sell a mobile app to a hospital, but only 2 of those meetings are actually technology meetings. The rest of them are customer meetings, they're design meetings, they're dealing with other aspects that require significant human relations skills. And that leads to the third data point. Research has found that people who have balanced social skills and math skills are out-earning their colleagues who are strong only in one of those two areas. They're out-earning by about 10% the math people with poor social skills and the socially strong people with poor math skills. And that is to say, the people who are educated to be strong in all of these areas are the ideal employees, it seems. And this is just precisely what a liberal arts education is intended to give, right? A rounded picture of the entire person. So, as I said, this article by George Anders, Revenge of the Philosophy Majors, in the August 17th, 2015 issue of Forbes magazine, is well worth tracking down and reading. It's worth the 15 or 20 minutes it'll take you to browse through it. I appreciate you listening to my commentary. Bye-bye.
Another new trend is philosophical counseling. Instead of going to traditional psychotherapists for advice or support, growing numbers of people are turning to philosophical counselors. They work much like traditional psychotherapists, but instead of offering solutions based solely on psychology, philosophical counselors offer guidance drawn from the writings of the world's great thinkers. There's an entire field of philosophy, for example, that explores moral issues. Stoic philosophers show us how to weather hardship. Existentialists advise on anxiety, and Aristotle was one of the first thinkers to question what makes for a good life. Typical pay for a philosophical counselor is about $100 per hour. This is according to the Houston Chronicle. But clients may be difficult to find, especially when starting out, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly what your earnings might be. But a rate of $100 per hour multiplied by 20 billable hours per week would equal $104,000 per year. But out of that, you would need to cover your business expenses, which might be renting office space, hiring a receptionist, and paying for advertisements. The median income for a full-time philosophy professor is approximately $68,000 per year, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Labor. They're predicting a faster than average rate of job growth for both professors of philosophy and professors of religion, with almost 10,000 new positions to be filled in the next few years. Income for other types of philosophers are difficult to estimate. These include writers, public critics, corporate consultants, members of think tanks, and government advisors. For example, one might author several best-selling books and become famous and affluent in the process. But most philosophical writers will have no such luck, so estimating their pay may be more difficult. Estimating the pay rate of a corporate consultant or a government advisor is a bit easier. Their rates are usually similar to those of lawyers and attorneys, somewhere between $100 and $300 per hour. And in fact, another common career path for people who earn philosophy degrees is to go into practicing law, earning a Juris Doctorate degree, and becoming an attorney, judge, or legislator. In conclusion, our world is a strange and often scary place with many problems still remaining to be solved. Philosophy can help us cut through the noise, reevaluate what really matters, and make wise choices that line up with our highest values. Sometimes it pays well, and, well, sometimes it pays nothing at all, but its contribution to human progress is valuable beyond measure.